When each of you comes to church on Sunday morning or Thursday night, you got stuff you bring with you. Stuff that has gone wrong in your life, stuff that's gone right, things you worry about. The good things to say thankful for, the tough things you wonder if you're going to get through. And that's what you bring to church. That's where we are. And when you leave this place today, you got stuff to do, people to take care of. You know, Thursday night was weird. I had just left Liz's nephew's house and talked to them about the funeral we're having Tuesday. And you know, they really don't know me. They don't have a church. But I was thinking about what it would be like to only be in your 30s and to have to leave behind your spouse and your little baby. And then when I walked into church, there was a lady in the back row who was just sobbing. And I asked her if she needed some help. She said, no, that her best friend, cancer was getting worse. And I said, well, we should put her in the prayer book and maybe give her a call. No. She wants it totally private. Doesn't want anybody to know. I just want to say, if I ever get sick, I want everybody to know. I want everybody to come to the party. And then I just about ready to start church, and one lady says, can I just ask you one thing? And I said, well, sure. She said, I have an adult daughter, and she really doesn't have that much, but she happened to take in a young man in her house today. And I said, well, that's got to be tough. And she said, yeah, the young man came home, and he admitted to his parents that he was not of the same sexual preference of his brothers and sisters, and his dad basically shoved him out the door. So that's where he went. And she said, I just really don't know what to do. And then, just before I was getting ready for church, this lady knocks on my front door. And she's wearing her Muslim garb. And I remember her from back in my early dollar store days. She was a cashier at the dollar store. And I would check out with like 40 bottles of ketchup. And she looked at me like I had two heads. And then next week it was 35 jars of relish, and then this and that, and little things. And she finally found out, I tried to engage her, that I was a minister. And so, and then when she found out, I would say something like, well, could you use some extra ketchup in the mosque? And I thought that was pretty funny, but she didn't really. But she knocked on my door and she said, you're a priest, aren't you? And I said, well, yes, I guess. And then she just started to tell me her life story, the tough things she's going through, and started to cry. And I said, well, I got to get to church, so I don't have time right now, but you're welcome to come. I know you have a student at Sandburg. Come to the church next door, and we can pray together. And she said, well, I can't pray with you because I have a Muslim God. And I said, oh, baloney. We got one God. You know, some different traditions, look different, but we have one God who comes together. So I'm ready for church, and I don't even know what to say. I'm just totally whacked out. And I realize that that's where God lives, and all that stuff. That somehow, some way, in the middle of all the things we go through, in the middle of all our stories, that's where God's Spirit flows and starts to take shape. And I'm thinking to myself, see, this is why Jesus came into the world. Jesus did not come into the world to start a new religion. For Jesus, being Jewish was good enough. Jesus wanted to take his religion and somehow open the door. So people who were on the outside felt like they could come in. He wanted religion to be more real. He wanted people to feel okay about themselves, even us. You know, we come in here and we may have done some things wrong, things may not be going right, but ultimately it's important to somehow feel okay. Like we're worthy of at least being here and praying to God, and whatever our journey takes us, that we're not going to have to walk that journey alone. It's like Jesus says, you know, cast those judgments aside. Take all that time you're judging people and use your heart to love others and to listen to the heartbeat of your neighbor. I remember when my mom died years ago at the age of 60. And my grandmother lived with my parents at that time. And my mom's death threw my grandma into a tailspin because she would always say, I'm supposed to die first. And many of you know what that's like, when the circle of life kind of goes backwards and it doesn't go the way we think the circle should move. And I remember I was just had come here at that time, and I remember going to visit my family in Glen Ellen, and my grandmother would come to the door and she says, Donnie, Donnie, have you seen your mom? Have you seen Doris? And I would say, Grandma, she's gone. She's not here. I remember sitting with my grandmother watching the White Sox, and I would say, Grandma, remember the days in Roseland when you and me and Grandpa would sit on the front porch and listen to the White Sox game? And he would drink Ham's beer. And I would tell you, I want to be like you someday. And unfortunately, I am. And then she would say, who's Bernie? And I said, Grandma, you were married for 52 years. That's your husband. And then she would go, Donnie, have you seen my purse? And I would say, well, Grandma, it's in the same place it's been for the last 23 years. Sewed to your lap. And she'd look at her purse, oh, I'm so stupid. Isn't that funny? Well, it got to the point where it wasn't funny anymore, and it was less cute, and it became much sadder. And a lot of you know exactly what that's like, because when someone you love has Alzheimer's, every time you go there and come home, it's like they die again, over and over again, because the disease has somehow robbed them of the soul of who they really are. But I was thinking to myself, yeah, she couldn't find her purse, and she didn't know who I was, and couldn't remember her husband's first name. But I know that somehow, some way, today, she doesn't have to look for her daughter anymore. You know, they share that heavenly kingdom that I think none of us are in a hurry to get there, but we know that eternal kingdom of comfort is on the other side. And even in the depths of Alzheimer's, my grandmother and other people that you love teach us that I may not speak the words that you do, and I may not remember your name or even who I am, but I teach you somehow, in my confusion, never to stop loving somebody. Never stop holding my hand. Never stop coming to see me. Because yes, I speak another language now. Not born of words and mortgage payments and going to work every day. My language is maybe Jesus' language. It's unconditional. It's deep. A little disjointed. It's more than I deserve or anybody else. And so I saw the sunrise this morning. It was deeper and richer and brighter than ever. It's one of those God-given things that I will never forget, and either will you, because I mention it every single Sunday. Amen. We'll continue with the creed. It's on page 105. Rise if you can.